I'm Father Robert Balliser, the digital Jesuit, host of This Week in Enterprise Tech on the TWIT TV network. I'm here in Orlando, Florida for Enterprise Connect 2016, and I've got a special treat for you. I'm sitting next to Mr. Jonathan Rosenberg. He is the Vice President and the CTO of the Collaborations Technology Group at Cisco.
That's right.
Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, thank you for having me.
Now, we don't have to do that part of the interview where you introduce your company. I'm pretty sure everyone
Cisco.
knows.
No, we make toilet paper. You've probably seen our trucks driving around. Food supply and services. No, the other one, the one with the C.
One, yes, the
with
connected one.
with the networking.
But it's been a very, surprising week for Cisco. You've had some announcements that have people kind of nodding their heads. Can you talk about them?
I would love to talk about them. So the first announcement, which really isn't a huge surprise, but we have announced the general availability now in the US of our new Spark service. That's calling, messaging, and meeting. The calling part available in the US, the rest of it available everywhere Cisco Spark has been available. This is a huge milestone for us. We announced the capabilities in November, and now, just a few short months later, we're ready to sell. So that's probably the big announcement. The second announcement, which I think really is a surprise, probably the big surprise for the show for us, was the developer fund. So, Rowan likes to say we put our money where our mouth is, and he means it. We've put aside $150 million. That's not, Padre, that's not chump change.
No, it's not.
That's a lot. It wasn't like he just took out his wallet and put a few 20s down. That's real money for developers that build on top of the Spark platform. And we think this is going to obviously help drive a lot of innovation and really proves how committed we are to APIs, to developers. We had a lot of other announcements too. The one other I would mention, I guess, is that we announced this thing called Presenter Track. It's like super, super cool. And it's a telepresence feature that allows someone to stand at the front of the room and be presenting, and literally it's like there's a cameraman that's following the person automatically around, but it's completely done in software. And it is amazing and allows you this great remote experience when you have someone like presenting in the front of a room. It's an awesome demo. If you haven't checked it out in our booth, smoking.
Now, I think some of my favorite demos from the last 5 years of Enterprise Connect have come in that general direction.
Right.
One of the things I do want to go back to is the developer fund, because I think you're right, that was a surprise. And it would be easy to say, oh, it's sort of a PR stunt, it's just a toss away, but $150 million is not a toss away.
No, it isn't a toss away. We had to fight for that money.
Tell me about the strategy there. What is the hopes for that $150 million? What do you want it to develop, or do you even know?
Well, I think we're going to see, right? But the core idea we want to do is that, we really committed to an open platform. And that's all just words. It's just words, Roger, unless there's actually people who are building applications on top of this platform. And when we look at what we think is going to make communications and collaboration successful in this new world order, it's about an ecosystem, right? And that doesn't come easy. So for us to really make this transition from where Cisco's traditionally been to someone that people like, there's tons and tons and tons of apps on it. We need to put some money to make that happen, and so that's what this is about. That's the strategy. Build the ecosystem that drives value into our platform. Simple as that.
All right, Jonathan, I got to ask if you could shine some light on this.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of upheaval in this industry over the last year. There's been this huge move, this almost desperate rush for companies to offer all of their solutions to be as a service. That's number one, and two, to be equally good on-prem, off-prem, hybrid. Is that the right way to go?
So I actually would like to challenge that traditional thing. Is you hear that from lots of vendors, because that's what customers ask for. What they say is, I would like to be able to buy it in the cloud or buy it on the prem, and it's exactly the same thing, right? This way it's just my choice of consumption model. That sounds good, right? It sounds good. But what it misses is that cloud in many ways is fundamentally different. And it provides a bunch of properties that are only possible in the cloud. And so if you build your software in a way that allows it to be the same on-prem as the same in the cloud, then you're by definition missing out on the things that are uniquely cloud. And a lot of these are technical, but they result in real benefits for the customer. Let me give you, Padre, my favorite example.
Please.
My favorite example is A/B testing. So A/B testing is a very common practice for cloud providers, where if they want to know what's the thing that drives the best engagement and user experience, they try something, they give 5% of users option A, they give another 5% option B, and the classic example on the web is like, what color should the button be? to drive click-through rates. But in collaboration, we worry about things like, how do we make sure users understand how to engage with the feature? Why aren't they completing the call transfer flow? How come they're, do they try and send the message and delete them a lot? Like, what's wrong with that? So we can actually A/B test user experience things like this to actually make the product better in the hands of users. You actually have to build a bunch of stuff in your software to enable that. Different builds, different analytics and pipeline. You can't do that on the premise. Cannot, it's like fundamentally infeasible. So if you have a piece of software that's the same in both places, how are you taking advantage of that? My second thing that's big on this is continuous delivery. You know what that is?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So I hope everyone listening knows what this is. It's really important. I'm going to explain it.
Yes.
It's really, really important. Continuous delivery is the ability to push new software into production on the servers multiple times a day, to constantly be iterated. And continuous delivery is the secret to great user experience, to quality, to innovation. It's the secret that's been making all these consumer players move really fast and produce great products for users, right? Well, let me tell you, you can't do continuous delivery on-prem. And more importantly, if you want to do continuous delivery in the cloud, you have to build different software for it. Why? Well, you got to upgrade the thing all the time. So like, can you have an outage when you upgrade? No, most premise software, you have to have a maintenance window, and upgrades is this whole like weekend-long affair for the IT guy. But you can't have that. So when we built Cisco Spark for continuous delivery, we upgrade it all the time and it's completely hitless. You don't even notice. That's the idea. You have to build your software specifically for that feature. And it's terrible to try and do this on-prem. It actually would make it way more complicated and expensive. But in the cloud, it's the right thing. So we are optimizing for the cloud platform. And so readers should really, watchers, listeners, you should all be aware. If someone is telling you it's the same on-prem in the cloud, you're losing out on the benefits of true cloud.
I love the fact that you brought that up, because the traditional logic is, well, yeah, of course, I want my solution to be flexible.
Yeah, sounds great.
But the way that you describe it, it sounds more, well, you're getting the worst of both worlds.
Exactly.
You're getting the weakness of premise and cloud.
You're getting the least common denominator. And we don't believe in least common denominator. We want awesome.
We want awesome.
Exactly.
Speaking of wanting awesome, I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball here. Look forward a year. Enterprise Connect 2017, maybe in a couple of years. Enterprise Connect 2020.
Okay.
What are the trends that you're starting to see right now that you think are going to shape who is going to be on this floor?
Great question. So a bunch of trends. We already talked about one of them, move to cloud, not new. I think the pace is picking up. It's accelerating. So I think in 2020, everyone's going to be here, and that's like, you're not even going to talk about cloud anymore. That's like not going to be the big thing. That's like, yeah, of course it's a cloud solution. So that's one thing that's going to be much different. The second thing I think is different is we're seeing another transition, which is how people think about this market. Like traditionally, it's been very segmented. You've had video conferencing vendors, you have audio conferencing vendors, you have UC vendors, you have phone vendors, and there's like these little silos of products that the enterprise actually traditionally bought sort of best in breed and then stitched the whole thing together, and has started to notice that you don't get the optimal user experience when you do that. So the trend we're seeing, especially as people move to the cloud, is people are moving towards a more integrated experience. And so this is what we're doing with Cisco Spark. It's designed so that you can't even, like calling, messaging, and meeting is part of what it does, but like we want to get it to the point where you can't even tell where one of those ends and the other begins. It's just one thing, you get Spark. And others are doing some of this too. We think we're ahead. But Microsoft is doing this, they're offering a broad portfolio. You're seeing even the guys who just used to do UC, now they're picking up messaging companies and meeting companies like Fuse is another good example of that. They're trying to build a thing. Now they're sort of trying to cobble it together. We've actually done it from scratch. So I think the trend you'll see is these micro niche providers have faded away, and it's all about who can provide a collaboration solution that makes it easy for people to work. That's what you actually want to buy, not I want to buy a video telepresence endpoint.
Would it be fair to say that you expect at some point in the near future, you'll no longer be able to tell the difference between your unified communication solution and your productivity suite and your network suite and your network applications, but the providers that survive will be the ones that give you sort of that all in one?
I think so. That's exactly what I'm saying.
We have been speaking with Jonathan Rosenberg. He is the CTO and the Collaboration Technology Group at Cisco. Thank you so very much for spending your time with us. Thank you
pleasure.
for sharing these insights. I think
pleasure.
it'll be very valuable to our listeners. Now, if they wanted to find out more about what you do with the collaboration group, if they want to find out more about what you presented here at Cisco, where can they go?
Well, for Cisco Spark, guess where you go? www.ciscospark.com, and of course cisco.com with a C-I-S-C-O for everything else. All right, thank you so much.
Jonathan, an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure.
And folks, stay tapped because we've got more coming from Enterprise Connect 2016.